Chapter 12. All night long, Elle tossed and turned. The argument she'd had with Adam last night had irritated and confused her, and she needed a way to release some of that pent-up frustration. The plane had landed a couple hours ago, and Adam had already gone to his office. They hadn't spoken except for polite conversation. A ride on her horse was just what she needed. Today, it seemed like her horse also suffered from too much energy. "It's okay, boy." Al patted Justice's neck as she walked him out onto the new racetrack. She needed to ride today. She'd started working with Justice as soon as he arrived, so her horse was used to her. Working with their new horse trainer, Jed Lee, she had begun to understand the best way to train her new horse. It had really helped her understand commands and the importance of the positions of her hands and legs, too. Today, she wasn't focused on training, though. Today, she just wanted to ride. Fast. Gripping the thoroughbred's mane, Al quickly slid onto the saddle. Guiding the horse out of the barn, she led him down the dirt track. The morning sun shone down on the freshly harrowed dirt. She was glad she was by herself this morning. Adam had left for his office before breakfast, so she didn't even see him this morning. She needed time to think before they talked again. Reaching the starting line, she set the small timer in her pocket so she could time how fast her horse galloped around a 1.25-mile track. Justice paced along the rail line, his nose high in the wind. His mane fluttered with his tail raised high, almost like he was showing off. Al grinned at his eagerness to run today. Slipping the pocket watch inside her closely fitted jacket, she gave the horse his head and urged him onward. Justice's powerful legs surged forward, and soon they were flying down the track. She hung on tight to his mane and put her head down close to his neck so she could see just above his head. She loved the sense of freedom as she sat on the back of her racehorse and saw the full length of track ahead. The horse's heart raced beneath her hands, each full breath lifting her slightly from her seat as he lunged forward beat by beat. In this moment, she felt like she could be or do anything. In this moment, it felt like mistakes she had made or arguments she'd had were wiped clean. In this moment, a new beginning seemed possible. Rounding the final corner along the track, she saw the flag for the finish line and urged Justice to go a little faster. They crossed the finish line, and Elle couldn't help but feel a sense of victory. It was a strange feeling, since they weren't racing against any other horse. She was still grinning as she slowed her horse down to a trot and turned him back towards home. As she looked along the rails, Jed caught her eye and waved her over. "You gave him a good run." Jed looked over at her and showed her the timer in his hand. "I clocked his time at just a little over 2 minutes. "Wow, that's really good. He must have been ready to run today." Al patted the horse's neck, pleased Justice had reached the average time for most thoroughbreds. There was a reason that the Kentucky Derby called itself the greatest 2 minutes in sports. That was around the average time it took for racehorses to run the 1.25-mile track. "Maybe he'll run better with his jockey. Is Teddy going to train on Justice today?" Al asked about the jockey they had hired for the upcoming races. "He'll be here this afternoon, but I don't think he's going to beat your time." Al slid off the horse, handing the reins to Jed. "That's all right. Some days it seems Justice is more eager for a run than others. It's the regular training that helps keep him fit." "Well, we're committed to doing our best, Mrs. Stevenson." "You're doing really great. Thanks, Jed." Al stood there watching as Jed led the horse back to the stables for a good rub-down, water, and food. As she walked back to the ranch house, her thoughts turned back to Adam. She wondered if they would be able to talk today. Part of her wanted the difficult conversation, while another part of her wanted to avoid it altogether. However, for right now, Al was happy to be spending the morning with Bella. As she walked into the yard, Al saw her stepmother's car drive up to the house. She braced herself for what was sure to be another difficult conversation. "I need to talk to you." Lilith stepped out of her car and slammed the door. Elle stood there for a full minute without saying a word. It was incredible that her stepmother could arrive somewhere and start off angry. "Hello, Lilith. Would you care for something cool to drink?" Elle forced herself to be courteous. "No, I don't. And never mind acting all lady of the manor with me. Remember, I know you. You're nothing but the daughter of a dirt poor rancher who died without fulfilling his promises. You're just the same as him, a wannabe who won't amount to anything." The woman stood with her hands on her hips, her brown eyes steely. "I'm guessing Adam has already figured out what a poor choice he made for a wife, and regrets that decision." Elle swallowed back tears at her stepmother's hateful words. "I don't care for your insults. If that's all you came to tell me, then you can go ahead and leave." Elle walked toward the stairs to the house when her stepmother spoke again. "Not so fast. There was one other small little detail I wanted to mention." Lilith's tone suddenly switched to a syrupy sweetness, which from past experience meant she had done something completely awful. "I've put the ranch up for sale. I've already got 2 offers, so most likely it won't take long before it's sold. I just wanted you to know. You need to make plans to get those horses and anything else from your therapy programs off the ranch within the next couple weeks." Elle stood motionless, shocked into silence for a moment before she found her voice. "You are selling my dad's ranch? But we just paid off the mortgage." It was all she could do to control her anger and not lash out. "It's time for Carly and I to move somewhere new. Somewhere where there won't be any reminders of the mistakes of my past." Her stepmother's cold eyes swept over her as she got into her car. "Wait!" Elle started to speak, but Lilith was already driving away. Elle crumpled to the stairs, a cold chill running down her back. Her legs started to shake, and she hugged her knees, staring sightlessly across the yard. She swallowed back the sting of tears at being rejected once again. Elle knew Lilith referred to herself as one of the mistakes from her past that she wanted to be rid of. All she'd ever wanted was to have a real mother who loved her. Since her mother died when she was 5, she had longed for the love of a mother. She longed for some kind of word, some encouragement from her stepmother. She longed to finally belong. But it wasn't to be. Her stepmother didn't offer her that. All she got from Lilith were nasty comments about how she was a failure and the mistakes she made. Maybe her stepmother was right. Maybe Adam already regretted his poor choice of a bride. She was sure he would be quite happy when the year was up for their fake marriage. At the sound of a vehicle driving toward the house, Elle quickly wiped the tears from her cheeks on her sleeve. It was Bella. Her friend got out wearing her usual jeans and dark gray cardigan that she had tossed over a pink t-shirt. "Hey, you." Bella walked up to her and gave her a hug. "What's wrong?" "Hey, Bella, I'm glad you're here." Elle embraced her best friend a little longer than usual, grateful for how supportive she was. "My stepmother stopped by and announced she has decided to sell the ranch." "Oh, Elle, I'm so sorry." Bella sat down beside her on the stairs. "Yeah, me too." Elle bit her lip, doing her best to stop the flow of more tears. "So it looks like I'll be busy for the next couple of weeks trying to find a new home for the horses and the therapy program." "Why don't you ask Adam for the money you need to buy your dad's ranch?" Bella gave Elle a confident look as if the answer was right in front of her. "It's perfect." "No, it's not, Bella." Elle shook her head. "I won't give Adam yet another reason to believe I'm only after his money, or that once again he needs to rescue his pitiful wife. I just can't do it, Bella. I just can't." "Okay, then we'll figure out another way." Bella placed an arm around her shoulders, hugging her close. "We'll put our heads together and we'll come up with something." "Your support and friendship means so much to me. Thank you, Bella." Elle hugged her back, sighing deeply. "I'm always there for you, Elle. You know that." "I do, and I'm grateful." "Do you want to stay home today instead of coming with me?" "No, it will help to get my mind off my own problems if I come with you, Bella." Elle stood to her feet. "I'll just change out of my riding gear and into jeans." "Sure, I'll be right here." Bella sat on the steps and started scrolling through her smartphone while Elle hurried into the house to change. Finding a pair of jeans and a green knit sweater, she quickly changed. Taking her hair out of its long ponytail, she brushed it out and let her strawberry blonde hair hang down her back. Elle hurried outside, and soon they were driving towards Seattle. "Thanks for coming with me to the safe house today. Your new friend Danny really likes talking with you, Bella. She's always asking for your help when they come to the ranch for the horse therapy lessons." Elle glanced at Bella. "I like her too. I can't help but remember if someone hadn't rescued me, I could very well be in Danny's shoes today." Bella's voice trembled and she gripped the steering wheel tighter. "I'm grateful too, Bella." Elle thought back to that day many years ago. It had been a scary time. "Maybe that's why we're both committed to seeing these girls." "Yeah, I think you're right." "You would have appreciated listening to Adam's mom's story at the benefit gala a few weeks ago." Elle shared Eliza's story with Bella. "Wow, Eliza really is an inspiration." "Yes, she is." "And speaking of the Stevenson family, how are things going with your husband?" Bella navigated through the busy streets of Seattle as she spoke. "Not good, I'm afraid." "What happened, Elle?" "Last night's business dinner went horribly wrong." Elle told Bella what happened. "Now Adam is angry with me because I talked with Bobby Michael and had a great conversation with him." "It sounds to me like Adam is jealous of Bobby." "Ooh, this is getting good. I might need to grab me some popcorn." Bella winked at Elle and giggled. "That is so not funny. This isn't a soap opera. This is my life we're talking about here." Elle rubbed the back of her neck. "I just don't understand what's going on with him." "Okay, I'm sorry, Elle. I won't tease." Bella parked her truck on the street beside the Stevenson Be Safe Foundation safe house and reached for her hand. "Here's what I think's going on, Elle. I'd bet your bottom dollar Adam is jealous of your easygoing conversation with a tech guru from Houston. I think last night your husband was acting cool because he was jealous. What I think is Adam really wants you far more than just his fake wife and doesn't know how to tell you." Elle thought about it for a moment and shook her head. As much as she wished Adam would see her as his real wife, she didn't have any delusions when it came to their relationship, especially when memories of last night lingered in her mind. I really don't think so. Not when I remember the argument we had last night." "Maybe Adam's anger is really a cover-up for fear. His heart is starting to open up to you, and it terrifies him." Bella's pointed look zeroed in on her own. "I don't think so, Bella." "Well, what are you going to do?" "I'm going to tell him we should go back to just being friends and leave the messy emotions out of it. I'm just too afraid that this fake marriage can't end up anywhere but in heartache." "If that's what you want." Bella squeezed her hand. "It's how it has to be, I'm afraid." "Well, I believe you're making a big mistake, Elle." "Maybe, but I can't see any other way." Elle sighed, her heart in her throat. She looked up at the house. "We should probably get inside. Most likely the girls are waiting for us." They got out of the truck and walked up the sidewalk to a large old Victorian house that had been renovated to make into a safe house. Recently, Adam mentioned they had bought the house next door also because they were running out of room in the original safe house. Elle and Bella hurried up the steps and knocked. One of the day workers opened the door. "You're here to talk to Danny and Bree, right?" She quickly closed the door and locked it. "I'll send the girls to the downstairs kitchen and dining room. You can talk to them there." "All right, thanks." Elle and Bella followed her downstairs through a smaller kitchen with a door that led to the backyard garden. They didn't wait long. Bree and Danny walked into the dining room and sat down across from them. Bella stood and Danny followed her to grab a coffee from the kitchen. "How are you doing, Bree?" Elle barely recognized Bree as the shivering girl she had found in their shed a few weeks ago. Her cheeks had filled out to a healthy pink color. Bree's brown hair had taken on a new glow, and her big brown eyes sparkled with animation and life. "I feel good." Bree pulled her sweater around her shoulders. "You look really good." Bella set 2 cups of coffee on the table. "We're going to take a little walk. We'll be back soon." "Sure thing, Bella." Al waved them off and took a sip of her coffee. "Why do you and your friend come here every week? Why do you bother with me and Danny?" As usual, Bree spoke what was on her mind. "Well, the truth is, when Bella and I were in high school, Bella was kidnapped and then saved from a human trafficking operation." "What happened to her, Al?" "Well, both Bella and I were at a science fair with her father. Her father is a part-time inventor, so he goes to these science fairs and conventions regularly." Al took a deep breath before she continued. "One night, we were on our way back to the hotel from the science fair when 2 men ran out from a dark alley and grabbed both me and Bella. I kicked and screamed and eventually managed to get away, but poor Bella was dragged off into that dark alley. I ran back into the science building, and a young friend of Bella's dad said he would try to bring her back. I ran with him and showed him where they'd taken her. I didn't think he would be able to find Bella, but he did save her, even though he was injured." "Wow, I'm glad she was saved. I know I'm grateful to be here." Bree toyed with her hair. "The doctors that have come here have really helped me change the way I see myself, so that I'm starting to believe I'm worthy of a better life." "I'm so glad." Al smiled at the happy glow on Bree's face. "When Adam announced a week ago that Stevenson Be Safe Foundation would pay for the first full year of college or any classes that would help people develop skills for their future, I was excited. Now it seems like this might be possible for me." "You can do it, Bree." Al shifted forward in her chair as she thought it through. "Adam said they would pay for college. I didn't realize that. That's very generous." "Yeah, it's really great. They're also buying a second large van to use to take people back and forth between doctor's appointments, grocery shopping, and to college." "That's really helpful." "Yeah, I think so too. So I decided I might study to become a nurse. That's something I'd like to do." Bree looked up at her, a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "You will make a wonderful nurse, Bree." "Thanks, Al. It's a lot of work, but I think I can." Bree stopped mid-sentence as her gaze shifted toward the door. Al turned around to see Adam leaning against the doorframe, the corners of his mouth turned up as he stared at them. His tie was loose around his collar and his hair was rumpled, as though he'd stroked a hand through it many times. In spite of her frustration with Adam, her heart still ached for him when he had a bad day. She should steer clear of him, but right now she just wanted to savor his nearness. She couldn't even look in his direction without revealing everything that was stored in her heart. She loved him, and she wasn't sure how she could hide that from him much longer. So just how was she going to be able to stick with her decision to tell him that they needed to go back to being just friends? He walked toward them. "Hello, Bree." Adam gave her a high five. "Hey, Adam. I was just telling Al about doing some schooling to become a nurse." "That's really great, Bree. You'll be a good one." Bree blushed at Adam's confidence in her. "Hey there, cowgirl." His blue eyes stared at Adam and his foot brushed against hers under the table. His nickname for her was spoken like a caress. How could she be just friends with this man when her heart wanted so much more? She was glad when Bella and Danny walked into the room. "Hey, Adam and Al. My dad wants me to pick up something and bring it home for him, so I've got to go. Al, are you coming with me, or are you staying with Adam?" Bella looked from her to Adam. "Al will be coming with me." Adam's tone was confident and determined. "Go on home, Bella. I'll go with Adam." For a moment Al thought of disagreeing with Adam, but it was time they talked. Bella waved at them and walked away. "Danny and I have plans too. It was nice talking with you two." Bree stood to her feet, followed by Danny, and with a quick wave they both left the room. Suddenly they were alone, just the two of them. Al fidgeted with a napkin on the table before peering up at Adam. "So, how was your day?" Not so great. I kept thinking what a jerk I was last night. Adam's quiet tone unnerved her. A furrow formed on his forehead, his blue eyes solemn and intense. Sorry for being angry with you. You don't deserve that. Elle sat there for a moment, silent. Adam's piercing gaze was unsettling, but he needed to know where she was coming from. Just so we're clear, I want you to know I'm not the kind of girl who would encourage one man while already married to another. The words rushed out of her mouth in an effort to get as much of the unpleasant parts of this conversation out of the way as fast as possible. I realize that. My irrational fears got the better of me, and I'm truly sorry. It won't happen again. Adam's gaze rested on her, and he reached for her hand, toying with her ring. Thanks for that, Adam. And I'm sorry, too, for any part I played in making things more difficult between us. Elle forced a smile, still feeling unsettled. It surprised her that Adam admitted to having irrational fears when it came to her. Perhaps Bella was right, and he did have some feelings for her. Yet her stepmother's words about finally getting rid of past mistakes continued to circle around in her head. She didn't want to be another mistake Adam regretted about his past. It would be best to settle this between them, no matter how hard it was. I've been thinking about us and the marriage bargain we made. Elle twisted the napkin, her hands only acting out what she was feeling inside. Maybe we need to go back to the original plan. What do you mean? Well, our original agreement was that we would help each other get what we wanted, and then we'd stick to being friends. No messy emotions confusing things, remember? A knot formed in her belly as she waited for his reply. That's how we started, yes. We've already gone past that in the last few weeks, don't you think? Adam's brows knitted together in a frown. We have, but that's why we've had more arguments lately. It would be better if we didn't let emotions cloud things and just focused on getting through the next 10 months as friends. Elle glanced up at her fake husband only to see his eyes shudder over. If that's what you want, Elle. I do. This will be better for both of us. You'll see. No messy emotions between us to make things get ugly. It'll be easier when it comes time to part ways at the end of this year. For the first time in weeks, Elle couldn't read what Adam was thinking, and it scared her. It was like a thick wall had suddenly formed between them. Adam's eyes glazed over, his jaw clenched tight as he looked at her a moment longer. Inhaling a deep breath, he blew it out slowly and nodded. He stood abruptly, his posture rigid, and walked with her to the waiting car. The tension in the air was palpable on the drive home. How was she going to make it through the days and weeks ahead, loving him as she did? She hadn't realized the deep chasm her new resolve would bring to their relationship. How would she make it through the next day when she met Adam's mother for lunch? Somehow she would need to convince Eliza Stevenson that all was well, and that her son and his new wife were still very much in love.